Peace, everybody. How are you? How's everyone doing? Welcome to the third weekly congregation service where we are trying to fulfill the word of God here. When God states in the Quran, in the chapter, where that if a congregation service is called, then rush to the remembrance of God and leave your entertainment, leave your trade, and go and seek for the remembrance of God. And of course, when the prayer is over, what we want to do is then go into the land and see and rush to whatever God is going to bestow upon us, upon his favor and to the pleasing of God. Peace, everyone. Peace. Hi, charitable citizen. It's nice to see you. Mikhail and Callie, my brother Wolf, Premier. Say Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. I like your name, man. Every time I see your name, I say it. Zaid, brother Zaid Yasser, how are you? How's everyone doing? Thank you. I'm just going to give some time. Turkey, what's up, brother? I'm just going to give some time for people to collect, and then we're going to start the service. Today's service, Salam Dark. Today's service is in regards to time and the importance of time. This is something that we need to discuss together. It's very important when it comes down to the believer and the task of a believer, especially those that want to serve God, because as God says in the Quran, that being just a believer sometimes is not efficient or is not sufficient. Actually, being a believer alone is not sufficient. It's those that believed and did righteous deeds. Those are the ones that get permitted into God's heaven and God's mercy and God's forgiveness. Of course, there's some people who are believers that also get an intercession and get help on a day of judgment, but we're just going to go by what clearly the book states instead of talking about certain cases and certain situations for some people. Much love to you, brother Khodo. It's nice to see you guys here. Salam Najim, salam everybody. All right, just a few more moments, and then we're going to get this started. And after the service, after the congregation service, what we're going to do is take some questions. If you guys have any questions, I'm just going to run by them and see if maybe we can help you. Today I do have to get off maybe a little earlier than usual. I tried to make these for about 2 hours. Maybe it'll be a little less because there is something that I want to take care of, something I had in mind. And all right, well, with that said, peace, Munshi. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge to God from the accursed devil. And in the name of God, the merciful, the gracious, welcome everybody to the third congregation service. Today's topic is about time and the importance of time. Now, when you look into the Quran, in the surah, in the chapter called Dominion or Al-Mulk, God clearly states that, well, exalted is the Lord, the one that he created the life and death to test us on who among us is the best worker. Okay? So this is paraphrasing what the first verse of that chapter is saying. But it's very clear that God has created life and death for him to test us among us on who is the best worker. So life and death is something that is signifying a start and an end. And therefore, in a world that is technically infinite, not the world, not the people inside it, but the understanding of what reality is, which is infinite and never had a start and never has an end, because God is always existing and God is the reality. We as human beings, we have a start and we have an end in this worldly life. Therefore, we have a set limit amount of a finite resource, what we consider is as time. I'm not talking about the relativity of time. I'm not talking about how we can measure time. I'm just talking about clearly that we have an X amount of resource which we have to expend in a certain way. And God gave us this ability to live in this world is just so that he could test us on who is the best worker among us. So some of us have resources, some of us have people around them, some of us have armies, some of us have all sorts of things. But the most important thing that you need to always account for is your time and where you're putting in time. Now, in economics, time is considered as something that is very important, and it's something that needs to be budgeted very efficiently because time is one of the resources that you cannot get back. To them, manpower is something that you can get back because if someone dies, they could just hire somebody else. But in life, in the eyes of a believer, a soul is something that you can't get back. Life cannot come back to life other than the will of God on earth. And of course, on the day of judgment is when we come back to life. But also your time comes back to you on the day of judgment as well. Because whatever time you're expensing here in this world, you're going to find it back into the world in the hereafter forever. Because whatever investments you're doing with the time that you're allocated, you're going to see what you've been building with that time in the hereafter. So both actually come back to you, but sticking to the mentality of economics, money is something that can be regenerated. You can get money after you lose money, and you can get manpower after you lose manpower, but you can't get your time back. So even in the world of people who are just concerned about the worldly life and they want to be as efficient as they can in creating money and creating capital, to them time is very important. I'm pretty sure that we all heard the term that time is money. But you as a believer, now, how do you expense your time? Well, you as a believer, you need to serve God. What does serving God means is literally like you have a boss and you have to work for the boss. Now, there's some employees that are just average employees. They're told they do what they're told, and they're waiting for the next instruction for them to work. That's your everyday, average, usual employee that people usually hire. Because a lot of people are not very invested into their company, or they're not very invested in what they're doing, and they just need a paycheck so that they go back to their families or their entertainment or whatever world that they're doing. And unfortunately, this is true for a lot of people that claim that they're believers, because all to them is when they're working for their bosses, standing the prayer for 5 minutes, but their mind is not into it. They're not trying to find that initiative to go above and beyond. And this is something that's very well known in the business world, that you want to hire somebody that has initiative, that can work with the least amount of instructions, and then they start to go out of their way, understanding where they could be an asset to the company, where they can find themselves in a valuable or a position where that they are helping in the cause of the company, whatever the cause of the company is. Those are technically the good employees, and those are the ones that could promote it really quick, because they're not waiting for an instruction to do what they need to do. They appreciate feedback, they appreciate the guidance, and they just go into the world with whatever they taught, and they just start to accomplish things. That's a good employee. But that's also reflective to a good believer. Waiting to be told what to do when you can act is someone who's not taking initiative. That they're just being very dormant just until something wakes them up, and then they do their task, and then they go back to being dormant. I find a lot of people are in that state. They're waiting for somebody to tell them. I understand that there's leaderships and people that have positions to be leaders, and while others are supposed to be adhering to said leader. But even if you are not in a position of a leadership where you cannot influence other people's decisions, nor can you make decisions on a very macro scheme, macro meaning the bigger picture, you still can make your own decisions, and you could still take the initiative in the micro things. If you see a way, an opportunity to invest your time to help somebody that needs help in the name of God, then go ahead and do it. Because at that point, you're serving your boss. You're serving the leader. You're serving the king. You're serving the entity that created everything, that gave you this amazing mansion that he built, and he's telling you take care of it. So if you find the opportunity to help somebody on the street that needs help, regardless if you know him or you don't know him, if he's a Muslim or not a Muslim, then you have to put a helping hand out, even if it's going to cost you a little bit of money, because the money, as we know, can be re-expended, can come back to you by God's permission. But at that point, you invested your time on something that you're going to see in the hereafter. Now, this is how the concept of time works. But you as a human being, you're not, aside from the soul, you're just bones, water, and a muscle. And there is something that we understand as human beings now, because of the science, that there's something called muscle memory. If you do something for some time, your muscle grows in a way so that it can adapt to the task that is at hand, that is constantly being thrown at it, and it grows in a way so that it can handle said task and it can improve at said task. Habit forming. You as a human, you're practically just like that muscle. Just like your heart is a muscle, it's just used to doing whatever you're training it to do. It's very easy to not easy, but it is possible to retrain your muscle to a different type of environment, or a different type of way that you need to accomplish something, or a different way that where you need to accomplish something, and your muscle needs to adapt to a new situation. Your muscle is adaptable. And just like you, and just like your muscle, your habits are something that makes you who you are. At the beginning, it's difficult. But at the beginning, you could see the growth rate in a very substantial, almost an exponential way. You're happy about your progress. And then when it comes down to the time of maintenance and slow growth, a lot of people fall off because there's no longer that quick reward that they see if they're training a certain muscle. Now, if you trained your muscle, you trained your body to sit around all day and just consume technology and consume what people are saying and consume what people are doing, and you're barely using your brain other than staying alive pretty much, then this is what you're training your body to do, and this is who you became. So you're burning your time, you're burning the resource that can be used in a way for you to become a better, a more efficient version of yourself, a better version of yourself, in a way so that when you are approaching the world, you could be a valuable asset in the name of God. Because remember, when you're feeding somebody, you're not feeding them. God is feeding them through you. But God doesn't need you to feed that person, because that person can be fed whenever God decrees that that person is going to be fed. But if you are the person that you are delivering the blessing of God, then you're purifying yourself, because God is purifying you through those tasks. But shouldn't you be efficient in the task that you're creating, the task that is helping the other individuals? If it's something that is intriguing to you to help the orphans, well, then you should start to concentrate yourself at a young age, and I'm talking more so to the younger crowd, where you should be investing yourself in a knowledge where you are capable of mining money from the people who don't want to give money to the orphans or to the needy. You have to find a way that you're providing a service with God in mind, where you are getting that money that is required, that resource that's required, so that you go invest it into the things that you're wanting. So you might be investing your time right now by a certain study or a certain way for you to extract the money, because your ultimate goal is to help into an orphanage, to donate to an orphanage. Maybe you could try to find a way where you're making an extra $50, $100 a day, and that $100 or $50 is completely dedicated to the poor people in Palestine. You found a good way to donate to them, and you just every day of your life you're trying to match at $50 to $100 for a donation, because now you're investing your time in the hereafter, but you're still engaging in a world that's in a positive way. But on the other flip side, if you want to invest 6 hours a day playing video games, and you really love your game and you love that dopamine rush, and you wake up in the morning and the first thing you want to do is continue your game and just go through the exact same cycle that almost is the same, there is not much to change, then that's what you trained your body for, and it's a very depressive state, because you're not really producing anything for anybody, and you're just burning that number one resource. Now, that's something that's very cool about one of the stories in the Quran that you could learn from. That the thing that you could learn from is Abraham's story when he got his child. God did not name the child by name. He just talked about a child that was bestowed upon Abraham. And God says, this is, I believe, in chapter 37, that when the child reached the age of sa'i means it's like you are striving. When the child reached the age of striving and he started to strive with his dad. So if you are somebody that is raising kids, if you are a person who's dedicated, you wake up in the morning, you have your time now that is dedicated to the reflection of God's verses, to the prayer to God, to speaking to God, to doing your supplications. After that's done, now you are in the mind process that now people need to be fed, my family needs to be fed, so I'm going to take care of the breakfast, I'm going to take care of what needs to be of the breakfast. If I have a wife, I'm assisting, well, obviously if I have a child, I'm going to have a wife, assumably. I'm going to assist in her duty of preparing that breakfast if she is responsible for providing that breakfast, and I am going to be engaged in that. I'm also going to be engaged in whatever other requirements the house needs at that time. If something needs to be fixed, I'm going to fix it right away. If something needs to be addressed, I'm going to address it right away. Then it's time for me to go out and trade in the world. So now I'm going to see a way to build it on myself, build on my wealth, so that I could take this wealth and again take care of as many families as I can and take care of as many other people that I can. That requires you to be serious. What does it mean to be serious? It means you need to look at your world in an objective way where everything to you is a serious matter. Of course, there's times to joke, and it's nice to have a joking character sometimes, but most of the time you have to approach your life into a serious matter. Okay, so for example, when, like, you know how people love watching pranks and all that, and this is literally how they're making money, is by just abusing other people in a weird way, and sometimes it's funny, but it's never funny when you're the target, right? When Moses said to his people, God is ordering you to sacrifice a cow, what did his people say? Are you making fun of us? Are you taking us a joke? Moses' response is something of a nature that you could see the mind of a prophet and how efficient he wants to be in his serving of God. He goes, I seek refuge to God so that I am not from the ignorant. Okay, so somebody who is sitting there just trying to make fun and playing pranks on people is technically called min al-jahilin, from those that are ignorant. Okay, he's seeking refuge to God so that he isn't from the ignorant. Because to Moses and to Abraham and to Muhammad and to Jesus, their mind is dedicated and their body is dedicated and their will and their striving is dedicated into improving the world and improving the understanding of the world about God, and to fulfill what God has told them to do through inspiration. This is not only for the prophets and the messengers. They have a much different task because of the responsibility that they have, they kind of committed to, and what God has bestowed them as favor. But you yourself can be inspired to do certain things that are beneficial for the world, where you now need to invest this most important resource that you have is time, and you have to you have to invest into it. If you're sitting idle for too long during the day, you're wasting your time. You could be reading the Quran. You could be investigating in the Quran and understanding more principles that you're applying to real world life, instead of going into theological discussions with people where it's not very beneficial in the moment of what your time is. You could be standing an actual prayer in that moment. You could be helping people that require help. If you don't have much to do, you could be working out. You could go study, not just watch a video, actually study a topic where you can improve on yourself and improve your understanding. Not just so that you could show the world or go debate with other people it's for you to become a better human being. So a lot of people nowadays, for some reason on Instagram, and the majority of them are fake, they're making these influential posts to influence you into having the right mindset on all this. Those people cannot really offer you much if they're not believers. Because the best mindset is that of a believer. The believer who is investing his time in God, he becomes almost bulletproof to all the other nonsense that's in the world, because he's constantly thinking about God, and he's thinking about the task in hand. He's not thinking about how am I going to come up with a theory or come up with a way for me to debate my fellow believer. He's coming up with a way. It's like, how am I going to be able to either address a certain confusion in the world? How am I capable of improving the situation for certain people in the name of God? How am I capable of trying to present something to God where I hope God accepts it, and then it spreads even after I die? This is truly what your legacy is going to be. Abraham's form of striving is literally going from one city, walking from one city, which is close to the Holy Land, all the way to Mecca, and then he's building a house. He didn't go to Home Depot and buy the bricks, and he didn't go to Rona and buy lumber, and he did not have everything perfectly cut, and he didn't have the tools. This man had to wake up in the morning, strive as much as he can, trying to collect what he can by God's inspiration and God's guidance, and him being grateful for every little rock that he finds where it's suitable for the house that God is inspiring him to build. Because Abraham wanted people to worship God. It was really from his core. So God found him, showed him a way to invest his time to get his wish. Because you get what you wish for. Noah wanted the world to go back to worshiping God, loving God, but he also wanted to deal with these disbelievers that no longer want to believe, because he believes they're like a cancer. They're going to destroy everything that comes after them, and they're just going to breed more losers. So I wish these losers are gone, and then God creates or brings out a people that would love God and dedicate to themselves to God, and not about killing each other and taking each other's money and investing their time into hurting each other and oppressing each other. So God gave him almost 900 years, 950 years, but obviously there's times where he wasn't building a boat, where he would wake up in the morning, day after day, consistently, finding the material that he would require, trading what he needs to trade, thinking about, if you think that Noah had like a smooth sail, sorry for the parable here, but if it was just a walk in the park building the boat, then you yourself have never took the time and built something with your hand. Because as you're building, of course, God makes it easy, but you're going to run into situations and problems where you're going to have to realize, you have to use your intellect and logic on how to solve these small problems without cutting corners, and trying to perceive other problems that can occur, and putting so much energy into the task at hand, and not waiting for your report card or for somebody to come saying, oh, wow, that looks good. You're putting all the love is because you want God to be accepting of it. So Noah woke up in the morning, he did his prayers, he went, got the lumber that he required, he got the other tools that he required, he put it together, he shaped the boat as he was told to shape, and he did what he needed to do. And then after that was done, he was still taking care of the animals that needed to be taken care of at that day. He was dealing with his deceiving wife, his loser wife. He's dealing with his children. He's dealing with the people around him. He's taking the time out to also feed the people and require the people that need to be fed. And these are all concepts that he was doing every day. To you, as somebody who's walking in the middle of Noah's life, you're like, whoa, this is too much for me to handle. You can't even last a week, right? But obviously Noah didn't start like that. Noah built on himself until he got to a point where he's working at a level of efficiency which is very difficult for the people in front of him to keep up to. And it's the same thing with Abraham, and it's definitely the same thing with Prophet Muhammad, because with Muhammad, due to the fact of what we just hear about Muhammad and what Muhammad accomplished in his world, okay? Because if we're going to assume that what they're saying is true, and some of it has to be true, okay? Because not everybody could be lying about these events. But he had multiple wives, therefore he had multiple homes. He was a state general. He was a general in the army. He was a politician in where he was at. He was also involved into feeding and taking care of the orphans, and he was also a imam of his mosques. All of those things have their responsibilities and duties for it to be accomplished right. Because if you're not accomplishing it right and you invested and you committed to a certain task, God is going to judge you on the way that you're performing. If you went married 4 women because you're thinking this is a favor of God, but then 4 women of yours are not capable of being fed and they're struggling in their lives and you're not doing your part. Meanwhile, you're just enjoying the having 4 women, but at the same time, you're not really investing in taking care of them. You caused a lot of sin to yourself because you just took more than you can bite and you hurt everyone around you. You committing to orphans and then stealing their money and playing around with them and all this, you did something, you committed to a task that caused you to have more sin. But now with someone who's as blessed and was as honorable as Muhammad, he took on so much because his mental capability of handling so much, but he performed as best as he can at every task that he was presented. When he went to war, he actually went to war. When he was building the mosque, he was building it to the best as he can. He maintained that mosque. He cleaned that mosque. He had multiple wives. He made sure that they had the food that they needed. The children were taken care of. The people he even married, that he did not even do anything with them, but he was just taking care of them as widows. He made sure that they were getting fed and they were getting what they needed. And because of him working on his own personality as well, which is also an investment of time, I shouldn't get angry because anger is not solving anything, and I need to remember God in those moments, and I should show peace because then we can get back to building in the name of God. These are things that you could practice as well. This is all going back to the concept of where you're putting your time in. Okay? So back to the example that we started is with business. And this is where I'm trying to get to the point that we need to get to. If you're a person who makes $50 an hour and you're currently working at a job that is $50 an hour, okay? But there's a task that can be done at $10 an hour. And it's a simple task where there is somebody that can come and get it done at $10 an hour. It is a waste of your time, okay, for you to go do that task, knowingly very well that your time is worth $50 because of how hard you worked on yourself, for you to go to a task that's worth $10 an hour when there's a capable human being doing it instead of you. Okay, so for you to get to the place on God's ladder that where you're worth 50 or 100, you need to really invest in yourself, understanding the verses of God and going on out in the world, especially at a young age, for you to engage in situations so that you can gain the experience, whether it's in economics, whether it's in politics, whether it's in theology, whether it's in science, whether it's in humanitarian causes, until you get to a point where people understand you, not because of just your knowledge, but because of your experience. And God clearly states in the Quran that those that are muhsineen, okay, those that are righteous, those that want to do good, okay, God rewards them with knowledge and wisdom. And Prophet Muhammad, right? Even actually, let's take the example of Jesus. Jesus was capable of talking at a young age. Jesus, as a baby, was capable of talking and introducing people to God. But yet they claim that his ministry didn't start until the age of 30 or 40. Prophet Muhammad, obviously, was about 30 to 40 years old, is what they claim, is when he became the prophet that he was. Moses was older in age, okay? Abraham was also older in age when he got Ismail and Isaac. Of course, he started as a young age when he realized the concepts of God. Jesus was already dedicated to God at a young age, and Moses was also dedicated to God. But they are people that invested in themselves, in the name of God, understanding that God is around. And this is how you get rewarded in your life and in the hereafter. God doesn't want believers that sit at home, just pray, not talk to anybody, not invest into anything, just read the Quran, pray, and just I'm doing my part. Oh, I get a little bit of money, I'll just give a little bit of that money and I'm done. What's the purpose of that? The devil, on the other hand, is investing in propaganda. He's investing in having soldiers. He's investing in lies. He's investing in weaponry. And you, on the other hand, you're doing nothing. But the amazing part is when the devil's investing his time and his money, his reward is very little. His recompense is extremely little. But a believer investing the same amount of resources in the same time, his reward is much bigger. It's just because he's doing it in the name of God. So that's why you need just a small group of believers, ones who are really dedicated to God, to really annihilate the mass at that point, annihilate in whatever they're coming at you, because you have the heart, you have the mind, you have the qud muscle, you have the will, you have the determination. You've been practicing your whole life for these moments. You see an accident in the car, you see an accident, people hit, 2 cars hit. You're the first one on the scene trying to see how you can help people out, trying to deal with the things so cars don't go on fire, more people don't get hurt. Your country is getting flooded by a rain or something. You jump outside, you start pushing cars, you try to get people help. You see, in those environments, in those situations, you should be the first to act, not worrying about anything, because God is with me. And if I got hurt along the way, this is more for me, because I have to be patient in what I'm trying to accomplish. You don't think Noah got hurt in his process? You don't think Noah got his hand maybe cut or bled a few times while he was building that boat? You don't think Abraham had some maybe stone fall on his leg, or maybe hurt himself, or Ishmael, the young kid, hurt himself during the time that they were building the house for God? These are all important concepts that you need to put yourself in. You need to measure yourself on where you're investing your time today. How are you investing your time just today? What did you accomplish? What did you do? Don't put a dollar value to it, not how much money did you make today, but what did you really accomplish for yourself? And is it just a one-time burst? It's a 100-meter sprint and you finish the sprint and you're done and you feel good about yourself? Or is it a 100-meter sprint that you've been doing for a whole year, where now 100 meters feels like you're just walking down the street? Now you're capable of doing 200 meters because your body learned that muscle and it's improving. You see how God rewards you in the world? That when you invest your time, things become easier so that you could manage and do more? Are we ready to take these challenges that God has presented in front of us? A really big world that none of us can walk around the whole world in the time that we've been given. But we have so much resources and so much ability to build, regardless of what the evil person is doing, regardless of what the other side is doing. The other side is not stopping you from going to plant a forest. Not 1 tree, not 10 trees, not 15 trees. In a few years, you could go plant a forest. For you to find money, there's ways to find money if you're investing your time. Paint some walls, cut some grass, clean some cars, whatever it is that you need to finish what the task is at hand. So again, I want to finish with the chapter Surah Al-Mulk. I'm going to get the chapter number unless if somebody has it handy, because I would like for people to, after we hang up or after we're done with the discussion, or if we're done, to go stay in the prayer and read the Surah Al-Dominion, which is Al-Mulk, which is chapter, give me 1 second, 67. So chapter 67, that is what I would like for you guys to pray on after the congregation service. And we're going to read, I'm using the great Quran.com, Shuaib Abdullahi's translation. Blessed is the one in whose hand is the dominion, for he is capable of all things. And I would like to correct myself, it's the second verse in the surah. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. The one who created life and death in order to test you as to which of you is best indeed. And he is the Almighty and Forgiving. Guys, the worldly life, if you're really invested in the worldly life, it's about you getting entertained, and it's about you having fun, and it's about you being flashy with what you're given. This is where you're investing your time and energy. At that point, you're moving away from God, because you cannot really focus on yourself if you're just focusing on entertainment, because you're buying into entertainment, you're buying into this worldly life, and we're all guilty of it, obviously. But if you're also investing your time and way to making the world a better place, then you're finding some balance in what you're doing. But the ones that are really excelling in God's book are the ones who don't want to get entertained. They don't want to play video games because it's just going to take away from my time. And I'd rather spend my time serving God. And don't get me wrong, aside from the fact that I'm guilty of sometimes burning time, but sometimes you could find yourself in a situation where you just don't have much to give in that moment. But there is ways to start to self-improve in that moment until you get an opportunity, when God blesses you with an opportunity to go ahead and do what you want to do. And remember, guys, sometimes you have to take the initiative, and then you find God holding your hand in it. Let's say, assume like if you're waiting for an inspiration for God to tell you something, but you get an idea like, hey, like, you know what, maybe I'm going to go walk to the next city because I want to pray in the mosques there. And you dedicate yourself trying to go find God and his messenger in that journey, you'll find that God is helping you, because God is accepting that sacrifice that you're making. So guys, find your way, find a task that you want to dedicate to yourself to, build the right habits, be your own influencer. The way that you're going to be your own influencer is reminding constantly of yourself that I love God and I want to work for God as hard as I can. And God is going to get me to the right place where I can do the much as I can in that moment. But I want to be prepared. I want to be ready. We're believers, we're supposed to fight. How many of us is actually ready to fight? How many of us is trained to fight? And this is more so geared towards the men of us. But with that said, thank you very much for tuning in. And Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise to God. And I implore you to practice fearing and remembering and having generally awareness of God, because this is what keeps you safe, and be good doers as much as you can. And the more good you do, the more good you find. So I will be taking some questions. I'll be trying to catch up with the chat here. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise to God. All right, let's see what I'm witnessing. Assalamu alaikum, my sister Yara. Salam Tom. Salam Anis, Ashley, peace. All praise to him, peace. STP, peace. BD, wow. Thanks, brother. Chocolate lovers, so true, brother. The Quran is so pretty and lovely for the brain. It gives so much to think about. It's true. I would love to start a channel on the Quran with my ideas, but I'm a woman and I'm scared of saying something wrong. Chocolate lover, it's okay. Well, you're gonna have a lot different way of representing the information as a woman. And if you say something wrong, okay, I'll tell you this. If you say something wrong, if you're saying it and then you realize that you said something wrong, you can go back and correcting yourself. I cannot attest that everything that I said is 100% accurate, but it's as accurate as I can from what God has showed me from my life experiences. So I don't know your age, Chocolate, but I'm sure you have experiences and things where you know the material very well, and then you go apply God's verses to it. For example, let's say that you in your life at one point you were a musician and you understand the theory of music and how music influences people, and then you start including the verses of God to what you know. Let's say that you're a person that went through some traumatic experiences, or that you loved the shielded life that you had, and then you start teaching people about the life that you experienced with the verses of God. So I'm not here being theoretical with people in my approach on my YouTube channel. And thank God I feel like I've got the success that I got by God's permission, is because I'm not being theoretical. I'm not saying what I'm considering is wrong. I'm talking from experience. I'm talking from things that I've seen, from things that I've saw and things that I've practiced myself. As you see, like what we talked about, one of my videos, we talked about chapter 18, the cave, and the story of the cave. But me and my brother Musa and my sister Yetta, we actually went visited it. We went investigated and we looked at it and we found experience. We saw what other people were saying and then we started to make the conclusions. A lot of people on YouTube, they'll put some verses on the Quran, they'll talk about the theory, they'll attack a group of people, and then they think they're right, and anything that's presented to them, they don't care. Because to them, it's just like whatever's going in their mind. But what experience do you have in what you're saying? Very little. Why? Because I'm sitting at home all day. So you as a woman, as a believer, you have a lot to offer to the world. And if you want to share your ideas, share your ideas. And you always say that if I'm wrong, may God forgive me and forgive you. So peace, Amira, STP. How do you get inspired by God? In what ways can you get inspirations, intuition, revelation from God? Okay, another question by my sister Chocolate. Did you say 900 years? Oh my God, how old was he? Yeah, so Noah stayed in his people. God says 1,000 years except 50, you can also say years. The words are changed because it's not exactly 50. But yeah, he's spent about 950 years, which is a miracle on its own for Noah. But so for me, my inspirations, my intuitions, my revelation is there's some things when you understand, you knew, or when things you witnessed, it's not a voice in your head, by the way. That's if you're hearing a voice in your head and you're talking to a devil 99% of the time. 98% of the time, because if an angel is going to come talk to you, they're going to have to present to you a sign for you to distinguish that this is an actual angel from a devil. Okay, but the majority of the people that say they hear a voice in their head and God's talking to them, they're talking to a devil. Okay, so the way that you understand how God is revealing things to you is, let's say you saw an event and you just get an idea, not a voice, just an idea or a feeling in your chest. Who's providing the environment that occurred in front of you for you to get that feeling, for you to get that inspiration? That's where you relate it back to God. I understand how people have a problem with seeing the dream of Abraham coming from God. That, oh, you have to sacrifice your son. Okay, but, and then they say, well, it wasn't God, and he made a mistake, and this is all nonsense. Because in chapter 18, the guy was literally told to go murder a kid. And the kid is a child, and he was told to go kill him. Why? Because he's a problematic child. And God knows and you don't know. And if we played out the history as the kid grows up and he was never killed at a young age, he ends up doing what he does and he hurts the world. So it's very easy for Abraham to get a dream saying that this child is a problem. I promised you Isaac. Okay, let's assume that it's Ishmael. I promised you Isaac. You were not patient. Because you're not patient, you got Ismail from a different wife, from a different mother. But I promised you Isaac, and this is not Isaac. Why are you rushing my order? Why are you rushing my command? This is something that could have been asked to Abraham. And Abraham showed his dedication to God by saying, I'm willing to sacrifice him right now for your love, God. If this is not my child and I'm not supposed to bear this child and I had to wait for Isaac, I'm ready to sacrifice him right now. That's how God tests you, if you are willing to let go of the thing that is most important to you. Some people want a wife so bad and they pray to God, I want a wife, I want a wife, I want a wife. God, I will love you more if I get a wife. And then they get their wife and then they're loving their wife more than they're loving God at that moment, because they're so dedicated to this love that they're building that they're forgetting God. And are you willing to give up your wife for God? That's the simple question. If you get a dream showing you that you need to leave your wife, are you going to say, oh, no, this is just a vision. This is not a vision. This is dreams. No, this is from God. This is inspiration of God. This is God communicating with you because you attach the event back to God. Okay, if it's not from God, then who's it from? You see where you start getting a problem? The things that are whispers from a devil or the things that are clearly from the devil, they're very clear that they're devil because they're extremely demonic. But Abraham is a person that's so dedicated to God that even if it's something that is negative, he still attaches it back to God because it has a positive outcome. I'm not murdering my kid. I'm saving the world in his mind. Because God told me, God knows, I don't know. God is telling me to sacrifice this kid for God, and this is how it's going to make the world a better place. Come on, child. This is what God ordered. Are you ready? Kid got tested and kid agreed. And then God stopped him because he was proving to the world and to us that Abraham is always going back to God. So you are constantly, I'm telling you, you're constantly being inspired by God. You're constantly being answered by God. You're constantly getting revelation about what's going on occurring with you. How much of it are you accepting that it's from God? And how much are you understanding it, that how you're relating it back to from the Quran? But unfortunately for us, because we're not as dedicated as Abraham was, we have all these other ideas in our head that influence whatever is happening in front of us. We all have these small qareens and small devils in our head because there was times where we were not so dedicated to God and we're not so understanding to God, and we're still doing actions technically that shouldn't be done, and we should be strong and we should be focused on the task at hand. And the less loyalty and less sincerity you have to God, you're not going to get as guided as to the level of as Abraham. So that's why Abraham is a role model, and Abraham wouldn't probably waste his time on Twitter, for example. I do sit on Twitter and X sometimes, or whatever it is, that stupid platform, but that's showing less loyalty because I understand very well that Abraham will not waste his time on a concept like that because there is not much benefit for it. But I do believe that Abraham would make videos and call people towards God in a medium that would be spread to a lot of people. But for me, it's the measurement on who the owner of Twitter is. I could see how they favored the devil. Why would I involve myself so much into it? See what I'm saying? So these are all things that are being revealed to you. Who's the one revealing them? You yourself? No. Is it from the devil? Well, no, because then that means I'm being scared of the devil and I'm associating a lot of events to the devil, and God warned us about people like that. Like this wisdom. Thank you, Cold, and I apologize. That was maybe a longer answer, but I think it was important. Is it bad for me to say that I feel like you're a real messenger from God to help us guide to the light and God's way of life? Premier, listen, brother, whatever, if I tell you I am a messenger, if I tell you if I'm not a messenger, regardless of what I say, the truth is apparent, okay? Yes, I do believe that I get inspirations from God to tell people, but I don't go to people's faces and I say to them, oh, I'm a messenger of God and obey me and you have to, because it was never about that. The messenger was always sent to set you free. And the more you listen to what the messenger is telling you, it's solving your brain. It's not about you putting him as a king. And the whole concept of what they understood the prophet is what they're talking about nowadays on how they're painting him as a legend, okay? But during his day when he's alive, the majority of the people argued with him. The majority of them debated with him. But the people who listened to the truth, what did they do? They went back to God. They didn't come and start serving the prophet, the prophet or the messenger. Like there will be no messenger on the world that's going to come say, okay, now you have to work for me. Because that would make absolutely no sense. They're here they don't want the glory. They don't want the praise. They don't want any of that. They just want you to love God because they've reached a level of certainty. And I'm telling you my life experience. You reach a level of certainty where the game of doubt no longer exists. And because God is measuring your heart, there is no reason for God to hide his existence from you anymore. So you see the world in a one-to-one. That's the scariest part. The world is interacting with you when it seems like no one else is looking. Because it's like God helping you, but the person around you is still not that much of a believer. So he's not worthy of the sign that you just saw. But you telling him like, hey man, like I just saw this amazing sign in the sky. The guy goes like, what are you talking about? Well, why didn't I see it? So you cause more doubt for the person. So you see the sign, you understand what is being told to you, you understand what's being revealed, and then you deal with the person next to you based on what God has showed you. And this could be by the animals that's around you. And I'm not talking about like something like miraculous. I'm talking about a sign where it's the coincidence is so low that it occurred so many times where it's like you're being told something. Like say you're walking to a place and you keep getting tripping. You're tripping, but you usually don't trip the way that you're tripping. But here now I'm tripping very often and I'm trying to commit to somebody, but I am like commit to doing something to somebody, but I know that person is not really loving of God. And now I'm getting all these environment around me slowing me down rather than assisting me and supporting me in what I wanted to do. For me, I would start to think that this is not the path that's for me because God is showing a sign within myself now, not outside, within myself. My body is supposed to operate in a certain way, but my body's not operating like how I want it to operate. So I'm going to take this as God guiding me that this is not the path for you, but if you want to continue. But it's not going to end well. But here you go. Okay. So I realized that, and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to go back home and I am going to cancel with the person and I'm going to apologize and I'm going to tell him why. I'm going to be like, I believe that you're not a person that is very conscious of God. And because you're not very conscious of God, I don't feel like it's good for me to invest in you unless you repent. And these are the actions that I saw from you where I know that you're not close from God. And as soon as I turn and I start walking back home, I'm not tripping anymore. I'm not having these bad feelings anymore. I'm not going through this confusion that was in the mind in that moment. So I was about to oppress myself by helping an enemy of God without realizing that I knew he was an enemy of God, but I was trying to paint the deed as something that's good. And as soon as I didn't take that path, God helped me. Well, isn't that communication with God at that point? But this is not just messengers and prophets and angels. This is you as a human being. This is what God is teaching you in the Quran. To find the signs, to understand the signs. The messengers help you by expressing to you the sign, by their mouths. Guys, this is what I witnessed. This is what God is telling us. I'm delivering the message of what God is showing us in the signs. That's truly how a messenger works. Prophet is much, much different level. So I appreciate you what you're saying, Premier, and I hope I answered the question. It's not about anyone declaring messengership or not, because that's not going to change a thing to anybody. It's going to change absolutely nothing to anybody. Whoa, that's so cool. Are we human? Okay, guys, I'm going to jump. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to skip some of the messages because there's so many messages and I go back. Yateem, do you mean less rak'ats? Is there a way to contact you for questions on private matter? There's one hadith I can't discount. Thanks. Nadia, yes, so there's an email. I'm going to write my email. You can send me an email and then if we can set up a discussion. We can set up a discussion. Sorry. And if it requires us to so just send me the thing and then we can go from there. Send me an email, then we can talk in private there. Thank you, Munshi and Ashley. Inshallah, I will do our absolutely best. I'm bedridden for days, usually at most. I'm gross, guys. I'm really Runir will do. You still pray, Chocolate? I'm pretty sure the sisters Muhammad, I have a really personal to me question, and I'm not aware if you wish to get this type of questions on your email. You can go ahead, brother. This is between you, me, and God at that point. If you are sick, you can pray for a short amount of time. That's true. Sometimes it makes me see what will come next. Okay, I'm just going to scroll up. I'm going to where Zef DML. Brother, when the time will get more worse, should Muslims go towards a mountain? Look, if this is what you're feeling, then you should make a plan to find yourself into a mountainous time when you believe things are very bad. That question itself is a way for you to understand maybe what you personally need to do. But should all Muslims start to go to mountains? No. It's something that you're being pushed to. You know what's amazing? Some of the best times I've spent in prayer is on top of a mountain, closer to God, because one, there's a lot of stories in the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran about prophets and messengers going up on the mountain and praying. It's a very good place, Zeph. But for you, if this is what you're being inspired to, God clearly states that He's going to save the believers, right? Before like really bad events happen, God saves the believers. So if God is inspiring you to prepare at this moment with that questions, then start investing into it. Telling if people are asking you what you're doing, you're saying, I'm preparing just in case if this world goes haywire, I have a place on the mountain I believe that God is going to help me with. And that's how I approach my matters. Okay? In my eyes, if you judge by Quran, you can tell what dreams are good. Exactly. Brother says, bow down with those who bow down. How do you yourself follow this command? Very excellent question called the stadios. Okay, I'm just gonna call you cold. Okay, for me, if I see Sunnis prostrating, I'll go prostrate. If I see Shia prostrating, I'll go prostrate. If I see Christians kneeling, not to Jesus, of course, not to a picture of Jesus or a stone of Jesus, I'll go kneel with them. If I see Jews prostrating, I'll go prostrate with them. That's what I feel it's me. I have no problem standing at congregation prayers with Sunni. Do I say what they say? Absolutely not. Do I put my hands the way they do when I do these actions? I don't. Okay? People don't bother you. And if someone did, you tell them the truth. You don't need to go into much details, but you should just stand your ground with what God is telling you in the book. Hey, bro, why are you praying like that? Well, my prayer is for God, as God says, like, for me to say that my prayer, my life, my death, my sacrifice is for God. It's not for you. Well, you're not praying with us. I prayed, I prostrated, I stood when you stood, I did everything you can. Those actions, you guys are not in agreement with, so please don't sit here and go with. And if they get too rough, then say, like, the mosques are for God. If I'm not welcome here, then you're obviously in trouble. I'm going to go to a different mosque. Like, God told us in the Quran to visit the mosques, right? That he wants the child of Adam to go to the mosques. The mosques that are too like worshipy of prophet, they're putting the prophet's name and all this in the mosque. I avoid those mosques. And those are clear. But there's mosques where they're simple and they're nice. The guy recites in a very beautiful voice. People are just praying and leaving. I'll pray the quick prayer with them because their prayers are usually very quick. And then when they're done, I go stand in a corner and I pray my own style. The amount of people that come up to me are very minimal. But the people that actually come up are the ones that are the most arrogant. And then they get the most confused after they start talking to me because I just keep telling them verses of God and they just don't consider them. So don't worry, just prostrate with those that prostrate. Take the verse as it is. Well, Yetta, you would know enough about dreams to talk about dreams to other people. Brother, when the time will get worse, should we go? I think I answered that question. Papa, you guys are, if you're sick, you can pray. Yep, cool. All right. Nice relationship with God is more important than the rituals, in my opinion. It really is. I believe in chapter 9 and, well, hold on. No, the relationship, sorry, I thought it's like a relationship with God is more important than, I thought you were saying the material things. No, the ritual is very important in God's, in your relationship with God. That's your meeting time with God. You're spending so much time during that ritual. You get closer to God. When you're fasting, you're more relying on God in that moment. I'm thirsty, but it's okay. God's with me. I'm all right. This is just temporary. I want to be a better human being. Because I fast so much, I'm capable of sustaining this more than my next door neighbor. So I'm happy. See what I'm saying? These congregations are the best time of whole week. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Munshi. I'm pleased, brother. If you want to ask a question, ask it. And even if it's that personal, it's going to be between me and you, and God is the guarantor. What is Zij, which is mentioned? What is Zijya? The tax you're talking about. Well, it's not tax. 9. I forgot the word right now. You gotta help me out. وَيَأْتُونَ الزِّجْيَةَ chapter 9. I forgot the word in Arabic, subhanallah. وَيَأْتُونَ وَهُمْ صَغِيرُونَ, I believe. We said 9:29. I just want to hear the word. Jizya. Yeah, there it is. Jizya. It's the recompenses. Okay, وَيَأْتُونَ الْجِزْيَةَ. Jaza is the word, is the same root as it. So there, people try to put it as tax. It does not necessitate for it to be understood as tax at that point. Okay, so for them, it's like, one, they have to give their zakat, right? And they also have to give up the, like, when you're telling them the truth when they're little. There are people that are fighting you in that moment. They have to hold to the law of the land, that what the Muslims are deciding. Okay, so because they are fighting you, there is going to be some recompenses for them. And there are some people that have to pay the tax for the city. That's for everybody. It's not just a special tax for Christians and Jews and all this. So there is a whole study that you could do on just this concept and how it was applied on different places to a lot of different people in the world. So it's like when you go to Britain, right? Everyone's paying tax the same way. Everyone's paying exactly the same tax. There isn't a different tax for like Christians and Muslims and all that, because that is not just and that's not fair. But everybody has to pay tax. If you're a person that's staying in my state, whether you're a Christian or Jew, you're going to pay the tax, even if you don't agree with me. And that's what I understand the verse is saying here. I believe it's not tribute or tax. I believe it's a payment specific to their time and because of the damage of the war. There is also that concept too, whereas they did destroy stuff, so now you have to pay what you broke because you're still alive. Well, Gog and Magog returned according to the Quran 2196. Okay, so 2196 سورة حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كالحدب ينسلون. I have my brothers and sisters that believe that Gog and Magog will return on the day of judgment. Okay, that's when they think that the day of judgment is. For me, Gog and Magog never went away. Gog and Magog got separated, but they still existed and they still did their things. But there's a time when they're gonna get at each other. Okay, I can't get into too much. Actually, it's easy just to say it clearly. So there's a group of people, two groups of races that kind of originated from the same race. This is a personal understanding at this point. I mean, but they could be two different races. Let's assume that they're two different races, Gog and Magog, and they were causing a lot of corruption in the land. The way that they were working in the land was very corruptive. God separated them, right? And then there's a day when they're gonna get back at each other, right? And they're gonna cause a lot of corruption in the land. So now the verse that you're talking about in 2196, God, what I understand here, the word is that there is no nation that is allowed to come back until Gog and Magog is open and they're like going from every place. So for example, the Persians have been eliminated. The Persian understanding of that religion, I cannot say that word, Zoroastrian. I know somebody in the chat would be laughing at me right now, but it's okay, sister. So they have been eliminated. That understanding has been eliminated. The Arab polytheism has also been eliminated. The Romans have been eliminated. The Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians have been eliminated. The Greeks have been eliminated. The certain native religions have been eliminated. All of this has been eliminated. And it's forbidden for them to come back until Gog and Magog appears. They get at each other. And now with this whole globalization and two certain groups fighting each other, we're getting a rise of people wanting to bring back the Arabian polytheism in Saudi Arabia and to be proud of their heritage. The Turks all of a sudden now want to put the Haiti symbols and they don't want anything to do with the religion and it's about their nationalism as Turks. And then you have now this rise of that word, Zoroastrians. But now it's becoming more of a nation again. They want to bring these nations back. Now you have these ancient Egyptians, the way that is being decorated in Egypt and everything's about the ancient Egyptians because of tourism all of a sudden. So all of these things that God has removed, we have the word Nike, for example, Allah inal Nike. It's a fake deity that was from the Greek. And now you see that was eliminated obviously because of polytheism, but now you're seeing it all over the world. Like the name is appearing all over the world again as if it has meaning. So you could clearly see that verse is kind of getting fulfilled. Like I assume, and I understand this might be like Gog and Magog, or that it's a race of Caucasian people that cause a lot of corruption in the land through globalization and through industrialization, and they just want to abuse and colonize everybody. They were doing it at some point before, like a long time. They were separated. One had their continent. Let's say one is on the west side of Europe and the other one is on the east side of Europe, like far right. And there was a huge separation between them. One went as far to a whole different continent and they built these huge armies and they want to go at each other's throats. But in the process of them building these huge armies, they brought all this dead stuff from the back to try to to polarize people. Oh, you guys are nationalistic Turks. You guys should hold on to the heritage of shirk. What? Oh, you guys are not Muslims. You guys are Lebanese. You guys need to go back to your Phoenician roots and bring back the Phoenician symbolism. Excuse me? You guys are Greeks. You guys are not Christians. You guys can't be Christians. You guys got to go back to that time of Olympics and the multiple gods and looking like these Greek people before. Oh, in Egypt now you guys have the ability to make music and to bring people all over the world. Make it about the ancient Egyptians and the pyramids and just decorate everything with the people that God has clearly destroyed. And I'll show you about how in Saudi Arabia there's people putting back like the girls are the ones that have been always valued in the Arabian society because we literally made them gods at one point in history. And then they'll put a picture of a stone and say, like, you see, this is the proud Saudi heritage. What are you smoking where you want to make yourself feel so nationalistic that you're like alluding to that ancient paganism in Saudi Arabia was something positive, that they've seen women as like as a matriarch. I don't care. I don't understand. But this is what I think that verse means. Okay, yeah. Pray in masjid as normal, but only without tahiyat. What do you think about that? That's fine. You don't need to talk to the prophet, obviously. I saw a video of someone saying it's a translation of a Chinese tribe in Mongolian, but Allah. But yeah, you see, all praise to him. I don't sit all day and think about that. Because this, to me, at the end of the day, can still always fall down to speculations. I'm seeing the verses applied the way that they're applying, but am I going to sit here and start to spread it like Imran Hussein? No, because at the end of my life, I would have said so many lies that I can't really prove that I get in trouble. I just tell you the general theory of what I understand, but I'm not telling you this is it and this is how it's, because it changes nothing on what you have to accomplish. This is the same things when people want to say that Mecca isn't where Mecca is and present all this information. Cool. But if you're completely wrong, you're deluded, and you've deluded a lot of people. I'm not going to make YouTube videos about Gog and Magog and it's Russia and America and fighting each other and World War III and all this. And no, I just have a theory that I keep to myself, and this is how I see it. It does not affect my worship in one bit at all. But if it brings somebody closer to God to see that it's being discussed in the Quran, so be it. That's amazing. But then you got to read the Quran and accomplish what God is telling you, not sit there and start talking about Gog and Magog all day. Marcus, the problem is that all you see is messages. Okay, sorry. Marcus Hassan. All right. So I guess someone's saying some the type of justifications for polytheism is always used by the same people here in India. That's very true. Like the devil convinced a few people on how polytheism works, and then they go like he has to use the same tactic everywhere else because it's just a lie that he needs to like reuse it because there isn't much of involvement to be done to come with a sophisticated reason to believe in polytheism other than it's intriguing and it's like a awesome fictional story. So now because we have this fictional story, I can create things that are so spiritual and meaningful, but at the end of the day you're just like rubbing your butt and nothing happens, but you think something's happening because your butt feels like it's getting scratched, but you're doing the scratching. Well, yeah, but I don't feel my hand because I sat on it for so long and that's part of my religion. No, you're just making things up at this point, buddy. Are you persecuted like Muslims in India and you made hijrah and how to adopt anonymous practice when online? Okay, so nobody knows my last name. I mean, the amount of people that know my last name is very small. My name is Muhammad. Come find me. You understand me? So there are ways to keep yourself protected, but I'm not anonymous in what I do. I'm showing people the city I'm in by a blurred vision because of how the camera is, but these are all things that I've already understood. For me to show you the plugs in the wall, you would have a general idea of where I am. The way that the flickers of the lights can give you a signaling of where I am. The time of day when I'm streaming, and I confuse people because now it's nighttime, but it could be nighttime in many places where people would be online at this time. But there's certain times that I would go to a different city, make a recording and post it, and then people now are off course of what they're thinking. And there's also time, there's so many things that I'm noticing where it makes it difficult, where I keep in mind, so it make it difficult for people to pinpoint me, other than if someone really wants me. Someone really wants me, there is enough clues for them to kind of understand where I'm at. But there's also ways to throw people off your like scent to protect yourself, and these are just me taking small steps and understanding on how to protect myself. But I trust God. Like, brother, I do my stuff online. If I feel like it's becoming problematic with some people, I say I don't care, sue me. I get death threats. I got persecuted. I got kicked out of some homes. I got kicked out of mosques. I got kicked out of countries. There's some countries I'm not allowed to go to. There's some people that know me very well that want me dead. There's people that turned on me that I thought they were my friends, but they weren't my friends. There's a few governments that know me by name. There's people that will come say hi to me in the airport when I come. It's just to say like, hey, we know you're here kind of thing. I don't care. I actually don't care. A lot of people try to label me as sick and crazy because this is how they want to take away the credibility. So to me, I just don't care, man. You just honestly have to stick to what you want to do, and if you need to migrate, you might need to migrate a few times, not once, I'll tell you that. So marriage separates, or sometimes potential marriage separates because they are not truly loving and they don't love for the sake of Allah. That's a complicated subject. Wait, I don't think Ashley would say that painting is haram. No, it was her, but that was a huge sign for me back then. Yeah, maybe Ashley, it's not. I don't think she's saying that painting is haram, but what she's painting, maybe she didn't like, or at the same time, she didn't want to invest her time just painting all the time. But no problem, Adam. Baba Shuaib is, man, I love Baba. Baba Shuaib is someone that you can, Shuaiba is someone that you can really trust in what he's telling you. Obviously, there's some things that I might say that could be incorrect. There's also some stuff that Shuaiba would say that it's incorrect, but it is correct to how he's approaching life, and you could clearly see the results on how he presents himself and how he sees the information. Nobody's going to understand this book 100%, because there's a day you're going to realize, be like, oh wow, I didn't think of that when God is telling you what you need to do. You got death threats? Oh, I get death threats often. I get death threats often. But no, they can't. I hide that I'm a Quranist, otherwise I have endless discussions. Exactly. How do you pray? Exactly, Salary. So me, when I do approach Sunnis, they don't, there's people that spend months with me, okay? Months with me if I'm frequenting a same mosque. And they will think that I'm very well learned in the Quran. They come for me for questions about the religion and stuff, but I also know a lot more than what I'm a student of knowledge in Sunnism. I know their books very well. I know their fiqhs very well. Okay, I understand where some of these concepts are, and I understand what their books said. But usually when people come to me or they're asking me, I'm always going back to the verses of God and presenting it to them. And a lot of people love what I say. But if I told them that I'm a person that rejects Bukhari Hadith and I don't take guidance from it, I just know it, but I don't take guidance from it, the guy will instantly cut me off as I'm an idiot. But they would spend 2-3 months seeing how they will say, well, you're very wise, you really know the book, wow, and then they give me all these compliments until it reveals itself. But I don't go out my way to reveal it right off, because why? I want it to be a learning process for that person. So I would even sometimes say hadith in regards to something that he's talking about. I'm like, but your own book tell you don't do that because of this hadith. But then, and also God said this in the Quran, and are you really going to deny God's word at this point? And the guy goes, yeah, you know what, you're right. Thank you for telling me that. And then we'll discuss it a little bit. And then a few weeks, he'll keep saying hi to me as he sees me in the mosque. And then sometime he'll say to me a hadith, and I'll be like, no, I don't believe in that. He goes, what do you mean you don't believe in that? I'm like, well, man, I don't need the hadith. I've been talking to you about the Quran the whole time. He goes, do you not take from Bukhari? I was like, who would take from Bukhari? If you really read it, you wouldn't take from it. He would never talk to me again. But there are also people, just so you know, they'll ask you what's your madhab or what's your fiqh? And I'll be like, well, to me, it's whoever's saying the truth and I see the truth, I'll take it. So if there's some stuff that if I read that Maliki said that aligns with the Quran, I'll take it. And he goes, okay, well, what do you guys call yourself? I call myself a mu'min. You can call me Ansar, whatever you want to call me. But he'll ask the question. He's like, well, what do you think about the Bukhari? And I'll go can a man punch an angel? He goes, excuse me? That's what the Bukhari says. A man punched an angel. Moses punched an angel. He goes, does it really say that? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you know what? I've been he'll talk about I've been doing this for 10 years, but I never read a hadith like that. Yeah, well, that's why I can't take that. And then you see them start to think these are Arab beards and wearing the traditional Arabic clothes, thinking that they're close. But as soon as you present information, you can see the person's heart. Marcus, what are alternative ways to obey in time when he is not alive? Bro, here's how you obey the messenger. That's how you obey the messenger. People obey God before the Quran. Okay? But when you obey the Quran, you're obeying God, because God says if you obey the messenger, then you've obeyed God. Now, if I wrote you a note, okay, and I'm the king, and I put this note at your desk, and if you open the note, and the note goes, give me 10 jumping jack, love king, okay, so you have to obey the king. Why? The king told you to do 10 jumping jacks. Well, how did you know that the king told you to do that? Well, because you have a note from the king. So the messenger, okay, he said, I have a message for you. What's the message? You have to obey me, and here's the message. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, so now I'm obeying the messenger. But can I obey God without the messenger? Absolutely. Many people obeyed God before Abraham. Many people obeyed God before Noah. Not many. There's people that obeyed God before Noah. They didn't have Quran. They didn't have that sense of what we would understand how a messenger is. We were obeying the prophet. We're following the prophet, even though we were told to obey the messenger, and the messenger gave us this. So I follow the prophet, the Gentile prophet, because the Gentile prophet thought like this book thinks. Okay? So you asked me a question. I would say, what is the verse that is applicable in this situation? This is what my prophet would have done. What is the verse that comes to mind when I'm presented with this situation? So this is what God told me to do because of this verse. Okay? So I followed my prophet. I obeyed the messenger. I obeyed what I was supposed to do. Because we could sit here and say like, hey, look, you can't put your hand in the fire, because a human being, when they put their hand in the fire, God has programmed the world for that hand to melt. And because the hand is melting, it's hurting. And me as a human being, you as a human being, we don't like hurt. Okay, so we can put on a paper that don't put your hand in the fire because of what God has showed us and revealed to us in the world. Okay, now we do that. Okay, don't put my hand in the fire and I won't put your hand in the fire. Why? Because us as human beings, if we start hurting each other, we're not eating as much. We're not as happy as much, and I hate confrontation and I hate enemies. This is what God has programmed, right? Right. Okay, we're in agreement. Awesome. Okay, but then the Quran made it so much easier. Don't transgress. Okay, so I'm obeying the messenger. That's the easiest way. Tadsy. Yeah, I want to see what Ashley said. What medium do you like to use? You see, yeah, this is awesome. You see, it's such an amazing conversation when believers are around. I'm still in the process of trying to find Mecca, guys. Aina Mecca. I noticed these cities are so kind and welcoming when you show interest. Yeah, this is the curse, I guess. When you show interest in their religion, but once you leave or criticize them, you see Iblis in them. So, because yeah, that's how it is. It's the guy's house and the inside is dirty. The guy's house is messy. His kids are a bunch of monsters. The house has been half burnt in one place, but the door of the house is so nice, decorated, and it's cleaned, and the paint is fresh. And he's inviting you. He's like, hey, you see how beautiful this door is? And you see how well behaved I am? And I am always expressing this sense of righteousness. Would you like to come and explore the door and see what's behind the door? And the door is literally the Quran. Okay, so here, look at this beautiful door that you can read and explore. Would you like to come in? Please come in. I'll be an excellent guest. You open the door, you walk in, you see the disaster. He goes, if you leave, I'm going to kill you. I got trapped. Well, why is the door on the other side that has the Quran, but on this side it doesn't have the Quran? I just see Bukhari Hadith. It's such an ugly door. Let me see the other side of the door. Nope, you don't have the right to see that door. You're not qualified enough to understand that door. So it's like it's a clickbait. That's what I feel Sunnism is. It's like, guys, it's an amazing book. Look how amazing God is. Look at it. Read the words and come back to me. Here's a free copy. Welcome to my house. This is what we're about. Oh, sign this paper right here. Sign it. Put your name. Say, Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Say it. Okay. All right. Do you know how you know Muhammad's Rasulullah? Because we have this great book called Bukhari. If you ever touch this Quran again and talk about it, you're in trouble. Do you understand me? And if you're going to leave the religion right now, you're an apostate and I'm going to kill you. Man, I can't. I stopped making those shorts because I felt like I was going too ham on that group of people, but I have so many scenarios in my head because of them. Like, skeletons are basically stick men. I could see that. Why do Sunnis think that the Prophet was illiterate? Because they themselves are illiterate. They can't read the Quran. That never made sense. How can a teacher not read or write? Teaching would be impossible. I mean, the Quran clearly says that, like, وَمَا كُنْتَ تَخُطُّ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مِنْ كِتَابٍ. So now بيمينك. وَمَا كُنْتَ تَتْلُو مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مِنْ كِتَابٍ وَلَا تَخُطُّهُ بِيَمِينك إِذًا لَارْتَابَ الْمُبْطِلُونَ, I believe. So it's like, you did not recite a book before it, nor did you write one with your right hand. Because if you did, then the people would have been saying that you've been doing this for a long time. But now he is reciting a book and he is writing one in his right hand, and it's something new for him. See what I'm saying? But then the other thing is that this believer says, oh, he wrote it down. And it's being recited to him day and night. He wrote what down? What are they talking about? What did they witness? What do you mean? Like, oh, wait, let me get this straight. God, his longest verse in the Quran is saying, oh, believers, write down the loans. If you're going to take a loan, write it down. And there's writers among you who can write, okay? So why are we writing loans down, but nobody decided in his right mind to write the Quran down? Like, here's the most important document for the rest of humanity from this point on. I'm telling you this. God is telling you this. But let's not write it down. Let's just memorize it. Oh, hey, you owe me $10. I'm going to write that down. That's important. Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Zeph, there's a few reasons why I'm on the radar. It started with the Western radar, to be honest, the government's there. Then it transitioned into, I can't get into too much of the story, but now they're nice to me. Now they don't like, well, I don't really reveal where I am in certain places, but I got in certain trouble where now when they look up my file, they just let me be because of, it's very deep. Like anyways. But it's the intelligence rather than just your everyday gob. So that's why I'm sorry if I'm annoying you or anything, but it's wearing gold haram. No, it's not haram. God says that, like, who forbids what God has produced for his people. There's no proof to why gold is haram. But I'll tell you why Sunnis say that wearing gold is haram. Ready for this? Because the Jews say that the men shouldn't wear gold. And the people who wrote the Bukhari Hadith, they came from Jewish backgrounds, and they just wanted to put Jewish law for the Muslims so that they feel that they've accomplished something. So this is why they say that wearing red is haram, which is a Jewish thing. Stoning the adulterer, that's a Jewish thing. Wearing gold, that's a Jewish thing. Killing the homosexual, that's a Jewish thing. There's a lot of Jewish traits in Hadith, which is why. I wonder why. Why are the 5 Persian men that used to live in Persia who are writing these Hadith books are aligning with the Jews? I wonder why. Anyways, then that's a start. Exactly. Shave beard. I'm not shaving my beard. Well, I don't know what you want. What are you targeting, bro? This beard here is, I like this beard. I never saw anyone becoming Muslim because they read a Hadith. Exactly. It's like, hey, if you want someone to not become a Muslim, give them the 9 books of Hadith and say, read it. All right, guys, is there any other questions for the style of prayer? But do you prostrate? Yeah, okay, so when, cold. For me, when I'm praying with Sunnis, I follow what they're doing in action. But for me, I don't do this action. So I go from standing to prostrate, okay? This to me does not mean ruku'. For me, kneeling, like, you know how like people kneel, I don't know, I can't really. The people kneel on their knees when they're standing on the knees. That to me, what I think is ruku', okay, from what I understand, because when God, 2 verses for my proof, when God said to Mary, "Warka'i ma'ar raki'in," right, and kneel with those who kneel. Now the Christians are all about Jesus and Mary, but they themselves don't have the concept of this like bow down like at the end of a concert kind of thing. Okay, but they do have the concept of going down on their knees, like, you know, as in submission, and they do have the concept of prostrating, putting their head on the ground. This is the same with the Jews as well. Okay, we don't have to take them as proof. Okay, but for me is the verse in chapter 4, what God says to them during the war when the messenger is leading the prayer. God says that a portion of them to stand behind them with weapons, right, with their weapons, so that if the side that is praying is doing sujood, to protect them. So why didn't God say ruku' there, when at that point you're not looking up and you're not looking around you? And that's the first point where you need protection, is when you're in ruku', because you cannot now not see your full surrounding. God said when they're in sujood, because I do believe that it's from standing up all the way down to sujood, and then to ruku, and then down to sujood, and then you keep like your sujood. You have to do sujood for a long time until you get a little like it gets tiring. Like your hands start to hurt, your abs can hurt, your head. You might need to take a quick rest, so you go back to ruku. You sit in ruku, you talk to ruku for a little bit, and then you go back to sujood. Okay, and this is how I see it. And a third verse that comes to my mind is David. When David thought that he was getting tested, or in his test, he did ruku, and then he turned back to God. Did he just like prostrate like that? No, he went down on his knees and he started begging God, like, God help me. And a lot of pictures and portraits that you see of David, when he's crying, he's on his knees crying to God, or like praying to God. But again, that's forehead mark. Me, I don't know. I do actually have a mark, but it's like, to me, it's like the mark is like, how can I explain it? It's like the skin is like really dry, a lot of tension. No, prostration is not worship. Prostration is to signify that that entity above you is superior. We as Muslims, we don't prostrate to anything but God, but that's because humans at this point, the children of Israel prostrated to Yusuf. Does that mean that they committed haram? No, they're not saying that it's the Lord. Prostrating is, you're prostrating to superiority, but God is the most superior and he's the most worthy of prostration. So that's what the word prostration is. Yeah, that's very true. When I do my night prayers, I'll get up and there's like a nice big spot right here. Awesome. SubhanAllah. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Is it obligatory to spend a third half, or no? It's the more you spend, the better. But you should try to do a third. It's very interesting when you do a third. But if you do it regularly, then you are showing a lot of dedication to God. It's amazing. It's not. It becomes easier, but at the beginning, it's not easy. There's weeks where I'll do half. I'll do half the night. I'm not trying to show off, but it's it has to be in the right settings and in the right time, kind of thing. Then there's times where my night prayers is a half an hour, 45 minutes, and then when I'm feeling like the world is a little too much for me, I'll start dedicating more time in my night prayers. And my night prayer, I love it because of the, as God says, like even like the darkness of the night and you turning off the lights and prostrating there in complete peace. Like it's very easy to get emotional with God at that point. And I have a way sometimes just to put headphones on, pick one of my favorite reciters and just listen to the whole verse while prostrating, and I just can't help to become emotional in that moment. I love those verses of God. There's surahs when I just listen to them, I just can't stop crying. I can't stop crying. Chocolate Lover, when I mention Bukhari, I'm just mentioning the king of all the other books, right? They put Bukhari over all other books, so it's Bukhari and everything below that. That's their hadith. My hadith is the Quran. Premier, yeah, that's exactly it. Sunnis is just another form of Judaism. Alright guys, any other questions? About your shorts, brother, they help me a lot to debate against Sunnis because I don't know all the hadith and the contradictions. You get oh man, there are some hadith, if I present them on as a short, I would get in trouble. I don't care that I get in trouble, but I mean, like, people will see it the wrong way, but it's truly what the hadith is saying. Like, there's some really weird hadith. Like, imagine there's a hadith that the Prophet's wife was sleeping, right? And the Prophet in that house, he used to wake up and he would go outside to urinate. But this time he was tired, okay? He didn't go outside and urinate, but he took a jug that they use for drinking water and he urinated in the jug. As if he's like a truck driver and he just didn't want to stop the truck and he just peed in a bottle. So the Prophet, astaghfirullah, he peed in a jug and then went back to sleep. His wife woke up and she was thirsty. She was quite parched. She looked around the house, but she didn't find any water. And then she saw the jug and it had some liquid in it and she drank in it. She drank it, right? She drank the urine of the Prophet. And then she realized that it was urine and she stopped drinking it. And she woke up in the morning and she told the Prophet, hey, I think I drank some urine last night. Do you know? He goes, yeah, I urinated in the jug. But don't worry. You will never get sick in your stomach again because of my urine. Like, isn't that full of wisdom? Like imagine the Prophet going, yeah, my pee cures your stomach forever. Like no one will ever believe a man like that at that point. Like they it's just gross. It's just gross, and obviously the Prophet didn't do that. But it's weird. Yes, Chocolate. Both me and Shraiba are working in regards to a video about prayer. But here's the thing. Very excellent question, BD. I don't make the video about prayer because there is no standard for the way you perform prayer. There are guidelines. I can tell you the guidelines and I can tell you how I apply the guidelines. But it does not mean that you need to apply it in the exact same way I'm applying it. Because there's ways for you to apply the exact same guidelines in a variation to what I'm showing you, where you would feel closer to God the way that you're presenting it, because then you're not concentrating on things that you're not designed for. In a group setting, it's different. In a group setting, I'm going to tell you this is how we're going to do it, and this is how I want you to do it, because I want it to look like a military drill. I want us to be close together. I want you to be still. I want us to present it to God in a way as the best as we can, because it needs to be on point, in my opinion, when we're together. But on your own, praying by yourself, no, you're open to do what is right in that moment for you. I'll just give you the general guidelines and we'll go. But yeah, so that's the thing. What's your thought about the theory of evolution and the creation of Adam? Asma, excellent question. But wait, I wanted to answer BD's question. Who's your favorite reciter? I have many favorite reciters. Well, not favorite. I have a lot of reciters that I love, and they go from like, depends on the surah, depends on the recitate, like the recording, because it's not always the same recording. But for me, one of my really good friends, even though I never met him, and may God forgive him in the world and the hereafter, is Minshawi. Minshawi, I can listen to Minshawi, and it's so amazing. But not the murattal, like, so they have a few different styles of recitation. I'm talking in regards to mujawwad style of recitation. So if you go on my channel, if you just click the home on my channel, like the first page, there's a video called The Message from God. The first reciter in that is the recitation that I really love listening to, and it makes me extremely, like, I love that recitation. So Al-Manshawi in Mujawwad style. I like Al-Husari as well, but not in Mujawwad. I like Husari when he's just going off, like he's just doing it. His voice, his style of going low, I really enjoy that. And then I have Anas Al-Amadi. His style, he's a Bahraini reciter, but his voice is very like dearing to me. I like, recently I've been listening to a lot of, not a lot, like a few surahs from Yasir al-Dusari. Yasir, he's got a very excellent way of reciting. It's very heartfelt. It truly shows that the person is speaking from heart. And then, yeah, Meher Ma'alqi, may God forgive him in the world and the hereafter. Meher Ma'alqi, it's like, when I hear his voice, I just go back to Mecca instantly. Like, I'm about to cry. Oh, man, when I hear his voice, I just go back to the moment standing in Mecca. And recently, Arafat as well, because I heard him in Arafat. But, like, yeah, like, Meher Ma'alqi to me is go back to standing in Masjid al-Haram. So, those are some reciters. And then there's these off reciters for certain things in certain verses. That's my favorite reciters. Okay, let me see. Do you think the same group which made the Talmud made Hadith because it's very similar? Okay. I can't get into too much details because So let me put it this way. Jesus comes around. Jesus presents the view of the religion as correct. He is the Messiah. Okay. The Jews said no. That's not our Messiah. That cannot be the Messiah. And they cannot be favored on top of us. So we need to ruin their religion. Okay? Because if I ruin their religion, I stay the promised people. And my way of viewing the world is the way that's going to be presented. And we're going to have a Messiah coming back. Hey guys, Jesus is coming back. Look, it's in your book. How's it in our book? Don't worry. Is there any other books? You don't see anything? We're telling you a Messiah is coming back. And this is how the religion is. And Jesus is the Son of God. Accept it, don't accept it. That's how it's going to be. Why? Because we paid off the government. The government agrees with us. You don't agree with us? Just die like the rest of them. Okay, that's weird. They destroyed the religion. They destroyed the understanding. And they forced it upon the government. Okay? So, okay, I can't get into too much details. But then Muhammad came around. Muhammad presented the religion again. Muhammad told you the Messiah came. Uh-oh. Okay, Messiah's coming back. It's still Jesus. All right? And this book here, yeah, it's complete. But you also need this book. Why? Because we need to also incorporate some more ideas, like Jesus is coming back. And a Messiah is coming back. Jesus coming back, and we have all these other concepts that you need to understand of how important they are, because the children of Israel, and how are we going to convince the people? Oh, government. The government's going to tell you that these books are very important. If you don't like it, they kill you. So some group of Jews are very good at influencing governments to accept certain things in their religions because it's very beneficial for their pockets. Chocolate, you mentioned Omar al-Arabi, Hisham. I listen to him. I just don't consider him a favorite in certain things, but I do listen to a lot of his, not a lot, like the Surah Al-Insan. I like how he presented that one, but to me it's more of he takes, yeah, he's good. Let me just stop there. May God forgive him in the world and the hereafter, but I just don't, I hope he's not doing it for the clicks and the views. There's another certain Turkish reciter there's reciters I can't stand. The people that use auto-tune and they want to put it as a minute YouTube short, if I could find those people, I have some certain words and certain things that I want. I hate when people are putting the auto-tune and they make it like as if the person is dying. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing? Can you type it out? I'm not a native Arabic speaker. Not sure what you're talking about. Chocolate. All right, guys. I did say today we're going to end up shortly. I appreciate you guys coming around. Religious socialist. Hello, brother. It's the first time I see you comment from Iran. Hello, brother. How are you? Welcome. What do you think about Islam Subhi Muhammad? I heard the name. I don't know. Yeah, that's crazy, Bookie. Is there any way to have a back and forth? I have so many questions. Yeah, Amir. Wait, hold on. Yeah, Amir. Okay, so this is my email. You can send me an email and we can definitely schedule something. That is the easiest way to get in touch for a private one-on-one. Brother, you forgot my question. Yeah, you did. Theory of evolution. Asma, sorry. You're right. Okay, so evolution to me is real. God makes it clear in the Quran that there are, for us, he said that he created all living things from water, which aligns with the theory of evolution. And by the way, me and my brother Musa, we're talking in regards. Okay, so my brother Musa, just to tell you, he's working on his PhD in astrophysics. Okay, so he's in a whole different dimension, and I don't like talking about topics where I don't have expertise in. And when it comes down to science and that stuff, I'm not a scientist of the physics and the biology and the chemistry world. I'm in a science of computer and certain sets of engineering, but in the concepts of the universe and whatnot, he's a lot more prepared than I am, and he invested his time into that a lot more than me. So we're working on a video in regards to exactly this. But the short synopsis is the Quran does talk about the concept of evolution. God says that everything came from the from the water, the everything living. God talks about that the skies and the land used to be one subject, and then he split them. Okay, so they were sewn together and they were unsewn. This is also in chapter 21. And God says that to walk in the land and to observe how God began creation and he produces the final image. So if we're walking through the land, we're observing that like there's like an evolution to where the final image was also created by God. So these are all concepts that are alluding to the idea of evolution. But now Charles Darwin, the person who they give credit for the idea of evolution, which I don't agree totally with his understanding of evolution, but he got a lot of his knowledge from Islamic thinkers. Okay, so the theory originally was called the Mohammedanian theory of evolution. Okay, so the theory of evolution existed in early Islam, but Adam is not part of evolution. So as evolution was taking part, Adam was miraculously created from God's hand. Okay, whether on this land, whether on a different land, but he was created outside of the process of evolution. That's Adam. Just like Jesus was not created from the part of like what the world is naturally doing. So these are two concepts of direct intervention of God, where it is no longer the concepts of evolution. It is very easy to see for anyone who like looks into the basics of science. The world is extremely old. God's patience is extreme. Like it's his steadfast and it's humbling. God has been around for billions of years, watching the exact, knowing that like the exact rock on exactly where it went throughout the world, and every drop of water that existed and how it came out in every single process. He was witnessing it, and he was doing it, and he was producing it. So the world is extremely old. The concept of evolution is very clear. God says that the humans came from one entity, and off it a mate, and then from it many humans came out of that thing. Where it also shows that like in evolution they all also came out pretty much from a singular organism. So it's reflecting on how the human got created. God showed us dinosaurs. God showed us all these other beings that existed many billions of years ago. And there's this is something off, kind of a little off topic, but there was a competition in the Cold War. This is not something that they talk about a lot because the United States actually lost this. As they were racing for the moon, they were also trying to see who digs deepest in the ground, because it's extremely difficult for drilling operations past a certain point, because the rock is extremely dense, the rock is extremely pressurized, and you need certain equipment where the digging process is so slow and the thing pretty much burns very quickly, that you need a certain way of understanding how to dig these really deep holes. The United States quit after a few, like not even like maybe a kilometer and a bit. But the Russians, the Soviet Union, they went 22 kilometers in the land, which is not even like a little part of what the Earth's crust is. So they went 22 kilometers in, which helped them understand a lot of like how mining equipment should be when it comes down to oil production. That's a different story. But they're still digging, by the way. They didn't stop. But they found so many like fossils and organisms and things where it just proves that yes, you came from water, you came from a single species that spread out and evolved based upon how it needed to adapt in the world. So I believe it's true. I believe the theory of evolution. I feel science to me is another language of God. Whatever truth you find in the science is what God has already programmed in the world, and we're just discovering it, right? But so the theory of creationism is true just for Adam, in my opinion, for what I understand. But the way that the world was created and how it's being discovered by observation is also true. And Islam is standing in the complete middle. It's not Christian creationism, which is what a lot of Sunnis like to paint it as off. And it's not complete, like no existence of God and Adam is just part of evolution. That's not true either. Sorry. Can you reveal your story of how you get in trouble? Of course, hiding the important details. I would love to hear it. uh, in the shortest way possible, I just said that Sunnis are wrong. The second thing is I confronted a certain government before a certain episode in the Middle East. Third thing is I ventured into Hollywood and I was very close to being signed by a Hollywood studio, which that at that point got me trouble when I told them to go, no, I'm not interested. And I was also, because of my targeting, again, because of how Sunnis were trying to eliminate me and remove my credibility, I was certain allegations were put forth against me, which are obviously not true, which triggered other intelligence agencies across the world to investigate to see if the allegations were true or not. But because the allegations were not true, but they found out that there's certain information that I understood about certain governments, and I still don't really want to reveal too much about, they wanted to know how I knew it or how, like, who I was talking to. But I wasn't talking to anybody. It was just like you connected the dots. And when you connect the dots and you understand it, you understand why certain people are eliminated very quickly when they talk about certain topics. And it's got to do with Zionism, by the way, but it's not in a sense of Jewish supremacy or the promised land. There's a concept of blood money, that there's certain blood when it's spilt, you are, how can I say this? There's some people that do actions that show God, like, I'm 100% on board of going to heaven. I want to go to heaven. And that there's actions where it's like, God, you said for me not to do this. I'm going to 100% do it because I just want this world, okay? And I'm showing you that I don't want anything to do with your heaven. I'm 100% on board of going to hell. And I want I want to be as powerful as I can be. And the way that I'm going to prove it is I'm going to commit this crime constantly. And if this crime is not committed, remove everything from me. That's the basis of what I can say. Freemasons is like that little butt of it. It's a lot deeper than that. This has been on for many years. This is technically has been going around since the time of between Jesus and David, more so closer to Jesus. But if you connect the dots, then you would understand. These governments, they have to sell their soul. They have to. They must, for them to be part of whatever game there is. But there are things that they cannot reveal. But if it's revealed, anyways, but let me put it this way. Some people who would want to buy the world would understand the shortcut of how to buy the world. And then there would be a lot of competitions for these politicians. There would be extremely a lot of competition, but there would be a lot of corruption in the world because not everybody gets rich, but everybody has a voice very quickly. And having a voice very quickly is more appealing to people because they think it comes with money. But it's quite the opposite. Okay, it actually costs you a lot of money and you start finding all this money, but it's completely wasted very quickly because of how your mind becomes. But if you tell the people that shortcut on how to become heard very quickly and become someone of importance, one, you destroy it, but then you cause a lot of corruption, so there's a point. But there's also the other side where it's like you battle them because you know their weakness. So you don't reveal their secret, but you know their weakness. And because you know their weakness, you know how to hit them. So they try to, okay. So, oh man, how can I say this? Do you know why governments don't kill anybody that threatens them? So there's obviously people with not devilish voices, with normal voices, but they don't just go out and kill them because they can go assassinate them, right? So you could, anyone who speaks about me, I'm going to assassinate. I'm going to be so draconian. And no one can stop. Like, they kill people every day. No one can say, they go bomb and cause genocides. No one can stop them. But why can't they eliminate every voice that comes up, right? Because the devil is working on a very thin line. He knows that there's limits because of the promise he has with God, that if he crosses this path, he's quickly eliminated. He's scared of God. So he doesn't want to cross the path. He makes you cross the path. You cross the path, he crossed the path, I can cross the path, it's done. So until I physically become physical, then the devil has the right to be physical, and then he removes me and he can carry on his process. You see what I'm saying? But sometimes he has to just push his limit. And as he's pushing his limit, this is when the believer gets to slap him. Okay? So this is on a very basic level. You could put that on a government level. Because Putin's a human being, or like me. People are scared of people like Putin, or scared of like people like Trump, or they think that they're bigger than life. But if you put him in the room in front of me, he's a human being like me. Strip away all his money, strip away all his phone calls, it's just him in the room with me. He's a human being with psychology. He has an understanding. But he is thinking on a dimension where it is involvement of God, but he's putting himself as a representation of something that's going to be talked about on the day of judgment. But he's very invested in it. But you who knows the Quran, that understands the dimension that he's thinking, regardless of you having the money and the power or not, you know how to destroy him with the words that needs to be said. And the destruction doesn't happen to him per se, but it happens to his idea. So they need to shut you up very quickly. Especially with things like in regards to, like, let's say Freemasonry, which is not as important as other things, but like, and Illuminati and Freemasonry is not the same thing. Like Illuminati, yeah, that's a little bit more destructive, but anyways, I can't, yeah, I got Egypt, I'm not allowed to go to Egypt. That's why they put limits. Why do you believe the Prophet didn't commission the writing? I do believe that they did. He did write it by himself. Peace be upon you, Muhammad. I'm a Muslim revert who practices Islam with Quran and Sunnah. Can you explain the reasons behind your rejections of the books of Hadith? I'm willing to understand you. It's nice to see you, Notorious. Welcome to the channel. The reason why I reject the other books is because it's not part of Islam. Prophet Muhammad didn't author them. Prophet Muhammad didn't say that they are required. Islam is a guidance. It's a form of guidance. So it's guiding you on what you need to accomplish and the psychology and the mentality you need as a human being to be accepted by God. That's a universal concept. The way that you're applying the religion has to be done by what the verses of God is telling you. Now, when it comes down to the other books, there's a lot of contradictions to what the Quran is telling you to do and the way you're supposed to act. So, for example, an easy example is God says that, like, if somebody, his death comes, right, nothing would delay a person's death, and the angels of death cannot fail. That is the word of God. So these are the laws of God that he placed on this world. Death cannot be delayed, and the angel of death that's responsible for us will never fail. So these are two impossibilities. But in the Hadith, Moses delayed his death and he punched the angel of death away, which is clearly contradicting the Quran. And now there's also many Hadith that paint the Prophet in a way that is vulgar, where it's evil, where it's un-Quranic, where it's wrong. And only a person with a cult-like mentality would be able to defend these Hadith, because to him, no, Muhammad can never do wrong, and these Hadith are true, and it doesn't matter what you think. That's a problematic approach, because God wants us to be fair and judge. There is nowhere in the Quran does it permit you to marry a 6-year-old, right? And then there's narrations that saying that Aisha is 16 and above, and there's narrations that say that she's 6 and above. So why, as a person who is wise, would he go and say that she's 6 years old where it does not align with the verses of the Quran? Now, people, unfortunately, when they believe in God, they end up associating concepts and associating things to God. Some people associate multiple gods, like multiple beings to God, saying that he has sons and kids. Some people associate human beings to God, as they did with Jesus, and and some people they associate other books to God, and not directly, but they're telling you that these other hadiths are inspiration from God, and therefore these are books of God, because these are words that God gave the Prophet for us to tell outside of the Quran. But then it's as bad as Christian literature at that point. That's why I don't need the other books. Brother, Michelle, I love chicken. I eat me a lot of chicken. and that's where it's gonna bingo. As soon as I said second, the battery is dead. Guys, I apologize. My camera here is it wasn't fully charged, but I do have to end it very well. I mean, end it good. Muhammad, why do you always wear black? It's because of the general sentiment in the outside world. People don't like seeing a man with a beard in black. So you could clearly see those that hate you very quickly. So you can recognize the Islamophobes. You see the people who are scared, and therefore they assume that you're a devil. And God said to you to not be scared of the devil, the allies of the devil, but be scared of him. This is in chapter 3. So if I see somebody showing fear, I can see that this person is not sincere to God. If I can see people showing disgust, then I see that this person is also not sincere to God. If I can see a person realizing that I'm wearing black all the time, then and asks, and then that person is showing some interest and awareness. But at the end of the day, your clothes doesn't really matter. And black is in theater, black can mean everything. Like it can be anything. So that's why, like when they're doing improv, they wear black. And black doesn't show your dirt either. Wearing white all the time is going to be a little different. Wait, did you did a debate, brother? Quran alone? I did a few debates, but yet I would understand why I said chicken. All right, guys. Peace and blessings to everybody. I really appreciate you guys coming around. This was an amazing time. God bless you all, and peace.